base at the bottom, Lochiyud base. Koshinim b'mikdash. One is allowed to tie the strings of a harp, which come part of the base of mikdash, not outside the base of mikdash. In mitchila, that's why to erase strings there and it broke. In mitchila, but to tie a string the first time, kamakan osir, that's forbidden even in the base of mikdash. Chodchin yabelos mikdash was allowed to cut off a wart in the base of mikdash. It's not clear what we're cutting the wart off of. There are two choices: either off the person, is a kohen who has a wart which is a mum, or it's a behema which has a wart which is a mum by it. So it's not clear which one we're cutting off. From the Gemara, we're going to see that we're talking about where the animal, not the animal, where the kohen has a mum, not where the animal has a mum. I don't remember which one it was in the Bavli. That's the way. I think you're probably right, because that's the way the Korban Eidah explains the Mishnah here. So I think probably it wasn't the animal. So it's going to change here in the Gemara. Avalom medina, but not allowed to cut off a wart outside the base of mikdash. Vim b'kli, if you use a vessel, kamakan osir, you can only use your hand or your teeth or something like that. You can't cut off the wart actually with an implement. So it says more. Rabbi Yosef bar Rabun. Rabbi Yosef bar Rabun says. Now here's a big typo. Both Reb Chaim Kanievsky and the Mashbiach changed this. Rabbi Yosef bar Rabun. The low Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, not like Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, but rather not like Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. The Tani we learned. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says, Nima sheba kinor. If you have a string on the harp, shenivsko, which became broken, because you tied it, yena mashmasas hakol. It doesn't make a sound. So you're certainly not allowed to tie it on Shabbos because it's not going to do any good. It doesn't make a proper sound if it's tied. Somehow you have to, I don't know exactly what you're doing here. So you somehow pull the string so it goes up to the pegs. You know, harps have pegs which hold the strings in place. So somehow you pull it tighter so it goes up to the peg. And when it goes up to the peg, so then it works. But tying in the middle does absolutely no good. So there's no point in even bothering to tie in the middle. You somehow put it up to the peg on top through a hole, and then you make a slip knot below. In other words, Aram Homish, it doesn't work according to Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar. Tan Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, HaKohanim Levim v'Yisrael v'Klei Shiur Makedes HaKorban. All these components are necessary in the Korban. Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim. The Kohanim are the ones who do that, but Levim, saying the Yisrael are in a maimed, right? They stand there. They're always Yisraelim present when the Kohanim are sacrificing the Korbanos. Uklei Shiur and the instruments are also all necessary in order to do a Korban. Okay? Levim. Chorchim Yabelas Mikdash of Lo Medina. And cut off a wart in the base on mikdash, but not on the countryside. Tamati, we learned over there, chatichas yabauto ein doichen. Ein doichen. You can't cut off a wart in the base on mikdash. V'achat amar chen, here you say you can. Says more Rabbi Simon Shem Mishum Levi Shem Shem Pedos Mishum Kilkul Payoso. So this is only about a case. There are a couple of different interpretations here. The Korban Eidah tries to interpret it still that it's going on the animal. And that the Korban Tamid you already did the pious, the lottery, who's going to sacrifice the Korban Tamid. So if you don't follow through the Korban Tamid, the whole lottery is going to get messed up. So therefore, continue on and take off the wart. The Pnei Moshe and Reb Chaim Kanievsky and the Lieberman also say that it's not talking about the animal, it's talking about it's not talking about the animal, it's talking about the human being. And you already made the lottery, who's going to serve in the base HaMikdash on that day. And then you find that the one of the quantity you chose has a wart. So then you're allowed to cut off his wart. So before the lottery, you just pick another coin. But once the lottery has been done, so you're allowed to cut off the wart in order to keep the lottery intact, because it's too much of a pain to make the lottery over again. Okay? So he says, in order not to ruin the lottery. I'm a Rebbe said, it's Rebbe somebody. It's another case. Lieberman doesn't point this out, but here obviously whoever it was got left out. Because obviously Rabbi Danasi is not interpreting what Rabbi Yerushalmi Eruvin said. So it's got to be Amar Rebbe somebody. Amar Rebbe v'hein sheifisu. It's where they already did the lottery, so then to undermine it would be too problematic. Amar Shimon Lakish b'shem Levi Sichaya. Shimon Lakish is the name of Levi Sichaya. It should be Khan instead of Bain. Khan many fragles, Khan shady fragles. You can't cut off any wart. It's got to be a wart which is already flaky. It's already flaky. It's already not so moist. So it's already somewhat dead. It's dead skin. So therefore you can peel it off, right? Rav Shimon ben Yochim said, "Kan belacha, kan b'yaveshel." Depends if it's moist or if it's dry. Rabbi Yisrael Chanina said, "Kan b'yad, kan b'keli." Depends if there's to do it by hand or do it by implement. So all of them are trying to be miyashi when we cut off or when we don't cut off or, because they're contradictory prices. So one has to do with whether it's flaky, the other has to do with whether it's moist or dry, the other has to do with whether it is with the hand or with an implement. Asyot Rabbi Shimon ben Yochim Kibar Kapora. So it's interesting. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochim's the dichotomy between moist and dry goes like Bar Kapora. We'll see momentarily. Rabbi Yossi Chanina's dichotomy between hand and between implement is like Rabbi Yochanan. The time when call Mekalkelim Peturim. Any Mekalkel on Shabbos is exempt. Mekalkel cannot be chayiv d'oraisa. Chutz, with the exception of Mavir, somebody who burns something, Vois Chabura, and somebody who makes a wound. In both of those cases, Mavir and Vois Chabura, you're chayiv even if you're Mekalkel. Because the nature of the activity is to be Mekalkel. We're burning and making a wound. Bakapora Amar, even a step further. Even if the malacha is not at all positive, you don't need the blood, you don't need ashes. So you mean a malacha shein tzarich legufa. Once you mekalkel, once you say mekalkel is chayiv, even if ain't a tzarich legufa, it's still chayiv. Okay, the two things follow. This is really a Bavli. The Bavli says the same thing, same machlokas. Rabbi Yochanan says, no. It's got to be tzarich legufa. True, mekalkel is chayiv, but it's got to be that you need the blood or you need the ashes. Now, lemaisa, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochim, who drew a dichotomy between moist and dry, he's like Bar Kapora, that it makes no difference how you make the chabura. The bottom line is that if you're making a chabura, you're chayiv. So if it's a moist wart, a viable wart, and you pull it off, it's a chabura, you're chayiv. So that's also the only time it's mutter is if it's a dry wart. But the Rabbi Shimon Yochim drew a dichotomy between when you do it by hand or whether you do it by keli. He holds like Rabbi Yochanan that mekalkel b'chabura is only chayiv when you do it when you do it for dam or for afer, when you do it for the proper purpose. So therefore here, how does it work? What? Yeah, no, so it's like this, because if I make a chabura even with my hand, I should still be chayev, right? Why should it make a difference if I do it with my hand or if I do it with a keli? Lamaisa, it's a chabura. So what? If it's dry, I can say it's not a chabura because the water is already as if it's no longer there. But if it's moist, so what difference does it make if it's with the hand or with a keli? Doesn't make any difference. So the answer must be that really, since Eino Tzarech L'Dam, Eino Tzarech L'Efer, it's not a Chabura anyway. It's just that nevertheless, if you do it with a Keli, it looks more like a Chabura and therefore he asks it. In other words, no matter what, since it's not Tzarech L'Dam, not Tzarech L'Efer, you can be Mitzurah, and then you can be Meko. And really you can do it with a Keli. Because the difference between keli and yad, but if you do it with your yad, it's still chabura. The reason why Meko must be based on the fact that I don't need the blood, I don't need the warts. I'm not harvesting anything. It's saying it's tzarich legufa. So that's why it's potter, and that's why we can draw the distinction between hand or keli. Okay, Rabbi Chayim said, "Kan v'kan b'lachon an kayima." Based on along these lines, they gave a different interpretation of this contradiction, whether it's mutter to take off the water or not. Both of them are moist words. Vushe etzorach l'dam. When is it aser? It's aser when you need the blood, for whatever reason. So the meheter is when you don't need the blood, and the is when you need the blood. Okay, so that's the difference between the two types of words. Okay, says the Mishnah further. Kohen shuloko betzbo, a Kohen who got an affliction, a wound on his hand. Korachlov came, he's allowed to put a little piece of string in it, but mikdash avalo medina, but not in the Medina. It seems like this actually does heal it somewhat. So therefore, outside the base on mikdash, it's also. Im lo tzidam, if it's in order to make a tourniquet, in order to get blood to come out, so then kamakan also, because lo tzidam, we said it's mamish also, right? Lo tzidam, it's to make a chabura. Lo tzidam is the major prohibition. So here, I take that back. Chabura lo tzidam will only be making a chabura. Here the chabura is already there. It's here. It's an issa d'Rabbana. It's not an issa d'Oraisa. To make the tourniquet, though, to take out the blood, is an issa d'Oraisa, issa d'Rabbana, which they even ask from the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, in the bit, it does say it's the Amalacha. Yeah, but that's not what the Korban Pnei Moshe says. Moshe says, as much as the Rabbana, if it was necessary for the Avodah, we would allow it. So because it's not necessary for the Avodah that he bans it. So it sounds like, I like Pnei Moshe better. Because it says here Osir, it doesn't say Chayev, right? So it says Osir, it sounds like it's the Rabbana, because the Chabur is already there. There's only the Rabbanan in order to get out the blood. And that's once the wound is already there. And that's why that we would be matir based on mikdash if it would be necessary for the avodah, because then we'd say ain't shvus b'mikdash. But since it's not necessary for the avodah, so therefore we don't allow it. I like that better. Boski melchu gam is bad kevish. You can toss salt, spread salt on the ramp, b'shush lo yachlik, in order not to slip off. Thank you. When it's allowed to use to fill up water only from the Bora Agola, which was one of the boros in the Beis HaMikdash, with a pulley on Shabbos, but you're not allowed to use a pulley in any other bor. It makes too much noise. They're noisy. Hashmos Kol. Yeah, that's according to the I forget who says because of Hashmos Kol. But the Pnei Moshe says a different reason. The Pnei Moshe actually says because if we allow you to do it... No, I'm wrong. Pnei Moshe says not because of Hashmos Kol. I got confused. Moshe says not because of Hashmos Kol, because Hashmos Kol is only if it's something which is actually like a song or has a tune to it, but not just screeching. So it's not because of the screech of the pulley, but rather because if we allow you to take up water with a pulley, then you might start irrigating your field. Because that's like uvda d'chol, right? Taking up with a pulley is already work. So if you're working, you might come to work your field and irrigate your field. No, so that's why it's only mutter in the Beis HaMikdash. It's mutter to use the pulley in the Beis HaMikdash, not outside the Beis HaMikdash. What?
It's not the brisker view.
Of what? No, because we have a separate Isser of Hashmos Kol. There are two levels of Hashmos Kol. The Hashmos Kol and Avshar Milsa. And Hashmos Kol is not also unless you're actually making the tune. But Avshar Milsa is also regardless. It's a much lower level of Isser D'Rabbanan. And Avshar Milsa is what they ask for television because of. Yeah. Radio, television, all those things. Unnatural voices. It's basically saying that Hashmos Kol, but it's a much lower level of Isser. So that's why you can play with it around the edges.
I remember specifically.
He said the Hashmos Kol.
He said specifically. Said in front of me.
Okay. Yeah. That's for Yerushalmi Eruvin. I'm just from Yerushalmi Eruvin. That's where it's from. Okay. We spoke about it a long time ago. We spoke about it during the Gulf War, because that's when they're matter to use radios on Shabbos. Because since Av Shamilsa is a very light Issa D'Rabbanan, so therefore you can bend the rules a little bit. Okay. Says Gemara. I'm sorry, we didn't finish Mishnah yet. Mibora gal godol mibera karbi onto the special heter to draw up waters from these two boros, the great bore and the cold bore. And these are specific boros with the whereabouts which were known to them. The Gemara is going to discuss why these. Yehuda Rebbe said, "Amar lo shano el gemi." That which in the mikdash you can put a little rope around your wound is only a gemi, only a little piece of hemp or rope, whatever it is. But use a belt. Nigon is like a gauze belt of some sort. That's awesome. Why? Because you're wearing extra beged. Because this little belt is an extra beged, and you have 5 begodim instead of 4. Sarim Meimar, because he wants to say, Yisur begodim kechisur begodim. Having too many clothes is having too little clothes, and a kohen may not serve with too many clothes. Rabbi Yaakov Barach B'Shem Rabbi Yasser, the Rabbi says to Rabbi Chanina. No, there's another interpretation. It's called Rabbi Chanina. The Rabbi Chanina said, "Uvachol yochutz beinu lebein beged." You are allowed to wear another garment in the Beis Hamikdash, but it can't be a chatzitza between you and the big day kahuna. Or lo ben beged, not between one beged and another beged, where there's an overlap between two begodim. What? Right. Adayit Rabbi Chanina ezu yisur begodim. According to Rabbi Chanina, when do you transgress yisur begodim? Only shtei kutanos if you have 2 hats, 2 shirts. Shtei mitznavos, 2 hats. Shtei mitlasayim, 2 pairs of pants. Or shnei v'neitim, or 2 belts. But if you have an extra little belt around your finger, not the avnate, but a little belt, that's not a problem. The other type, that would be a problem is if it's mam chatzitza. So we have machlokas here. According to Rabbi Yaakov, according to Yehuda Rebbe, Yisur B'Kodim was whenever you have extra clothing of any sort. According to Rabbi Chanina, it's only if that extra clothing comes between your regular, your big day kuna, and your flesh, or between 2 sets of big day kuna. The only time you have true Yisur B'Kodim, according to Rabbi Chanina, is where you put on another one of the big day kuna mamish. Okay, another one of those that's superfluous. No, that would be also that's also because of chatzitza. It's chatzitza not between his body and his clothing, but between his body and the korban. The same idea. Okay. Kohen shloka be'etzbo v'korachul of avnate. Of a kohen hurt his finger and he put it as avnate. So kol shem avnate posel or ain't a posel malbush. Is there anything which is called an avnate which is posel, or anything which is the like the malbush, the actual avnate that wore in the Beis Hamikdash? In other words, sometimes you have a gartel, it's called an avnate, right? Is that aser, even though it's not the same avnate they wore in the Beis Hamikdash, or is it dafki took the same avnate? Now, of course, the only question according to Rabbi Chanina. According to Rabbi Chanina, when he said Yisur B'Kodim is another garment like those that were in the Beis Hamikdash, is a mamish the same garment, or even one which is similar? And the Yerushalmi, of course, would never answer a question like that. Says Yerushalmi further.
This really is the avenues you use to wrap around his finger. The question is that is it a soul of avnei? Since it is the avnei, even though it says shame out. Since it is the avnei, therefore it's possible because you're not using it the proper way. Or ain't a possible or malbush, so it's not possible because you're not using it.
I give you an A for creativity.
Makes sense.
I understand what you're saying. I don't know. I didn't see anybody say that. But I don't believe there's any hamina that's good. Because you need to have an hamina around your waist. I can't hold hamina that you can be so even a Kohen comes basically and say, okay, I want to do everything with the hamina around my nose. Or want to wear it like a necklace, a funky hamina. Again, I don't think so. So that's why I wouldn't interpret the Gemara like that. Yeah. They're going to have nose rings. Tani, we learned. Marlin, V'dyubti. Was allowed to use the dyubti on Shabbos. Gemara is going to explain what that is in a minute. And should mean metifin. Barak, going to drip in that rock. The Gemara will explain that as well. L'cholet for a sick person on Shabbos. Malim b'dyubti, that yubit, that's mashtamicha. So mashtamicha, which in English is a siphon. Allowed to use a siphon on Shabbos. Everybody know how a siphon works? I've never actually seen one in action. But, yeah. That's just a straw, isn't it? That's just a straw. But he doesn't actually swallow it. Okay. I'm faded that in all my daf yomis, people bring riots from movies. That's right. The TV barak, what's that? Isavoy meimar orura. Some say it's an alarm clock. Isavoy meimar kuknisa. It's a sleep machine. It's the same idea though. What you have is you have a shower head, which means like you have pinholes in a vessel, and you let the water run through those pinholes. And as an alarm clock, you let it run on a flat pan of metal, so it makes a loud noise, relatively loud noise. Not like a gong, but it makes loud noise. If you wanted to use it to fall asleep, you have it run on chimes. So the chimes make a soothing sound, so you can fall asleep. So these are water-powered alarm clocks and water-powered sleep machines, and you're allowed to do that for a sick person. You know, it's Hashmosko. Right, or Rav Milsa, but for a person who's sick, so you can be matter. Okay? Shiur b'Gshomim. I don't know why all these halachos are put in together, but shiur b'Gshomim. A courtyard which there was rain. V'ya beis Avel beis Mishta, and there's a Avel's house which people want to visit, or a Chas which people want to visit. I raise a noitel esa. Big mistake here. It should be Tevin. Everybody changes this, and you take the Tevin, the straw. Umorid, and you scatter it on the ground. Doesn't look like boneh? No, because it's tevin. It would be stones, of course you could put it on the ground because it looks like you're building a walkway or something. But straw, everybody knows it's going to take away after Shabbos, give to your animal to eat. So if it doesn't look like leaving it permanently, so that's okay. You just should scatter on Shabbos the same way you scatter it on a weekday. Tani, we learned, you can't fill water with an adosha on Shabbos. Now, what an adosha is a major malchokas. Kormid says it's the scales. I don't know if scales fits into here. The Bnei Moshe says it's a large vessel, and he says you can't use a large vessel to fill up water on Shabbos because you might come to water your fields, right? So even an adosha you cannot use, unless im kechasa chevel or mashiach mater. If you're doing it because you don't want to use a small bucket, because a small bucket you take it up and down, it's going to put a strain on the rope or on the string, which holds the bucket. So that's what to use a large bucket and just do it in one shot. But otherwise, it's also to use a large bucket. Now, Reb Chaim Kanievsky says, I don't know where he gets this from. It's very difficult, but he says that adosha is actually a pulley. And this Gemara is allowing you to use a pulley if you're using a pulley in order to diminish the strain on the rope or the string. It's a shocking concept. Because with a Mishnah Asher, it's pulley except in the Beis HaMikdash. But he touches up adosha as being a pulley, and therefore he allows a pulley under these circumstances. Okay? When it's allowed, as we mentioned, Mishnah to fill up from the bor hagoyla and with a pulley on Shabbos. And from the bor hagoyla and bor hakar on yotif. Why'd you hop onto this? Ella, it's a special thing. When the Jews came up with Ezra from the Golus, they stayed by this bear, the bear Akar, and the other one also, whatever it was called, the Bor HaGodol, right? So as a covet for this board, they made a takana. You can use it for ever and ever on Yotiv. It's a special dispensation for the covers of the bear by which they camped when they came up to Eretz Yisrael. Okay, it's a special cover. Lo kol be'er sakari tiru. Not all cold wells. Elo oisa be'er shechona lo bevad. Only that one where they count. Says Marechmada Tamar Tamon. Just like you say over there by Pasti Biros. Mashvuta Uta. Where Pasti Biros allowed only Boros on the highway for only Regoli. Even though they should work everywhere, they're only mutter over there. So to call Mashvuta Uta, only the ones which they said are mutter, not any other ones. Okay? Only those specific ones that they can't on the way. Alright, last Mishnah on the Masech. Sheret Shanim Tzov HaMikdash. A sheretz, just a minute. You find this is the most difficult Masech Yerushalmi. I'm asking again. I don't understand Lieberman. Maybe never learned Roy. Seemed quite easy, relatively speaking. Sheretz Shanim Tzov HaMikdash. You have a sheretz which is found in the base HaMikdash. Kohen Motzil Ben Yonah. So the Kohen takes on his belt. Now the belt will become Tameh, but will he become Tameh? Cotton wool. Why? Why not? Because what's the sheretz?
Sheretz is going to be
and the kekeli is a and a rishon doesn't make an odom a sheni. It only makes she'ochel a sheni, right? So the person will not become tamei, only his belt will become tamei. But you do that slowly, in order not to leave tumah lying around. Divrei Rabbi Yochanan broke. Rabbi Omer, no, don't use your belt because you make your belt tamei. It's fashionate said special wooden tongs. Shlo arabs in order not to make too many things tummy because the wooden tongs don't become tummy. So from where do you bother taking it out from on Shabbos? If you find it in the sanctuary, ulam. It's in the antechamber to the sanctuary. Well, between the antechamber and the mizbeach. But you found in the rest of the Azor, you just leave it there to have the Shabbos. You cover it with a keli. It's not so good, Fairlach. It's not so terrible. It's qualitatively it's no different, except it's less of a bizoyan to the base of Mikdash to have a dead sheretz elsewhere. So then you just put it in that case you just cover with the keli. Here, Rabbi Akiva Omer, Mokum Shechem is done a koretz. Any place where if you enter Tommy, you're chayav, you do it made to koretz. But she goes to chayav to do it inadvertently, you're chayav chatas. Rishon motzim also. From there you remove it, which means the entire azora. Not just beyond the mizbeach, but the entire azara, because if you enter the Tomei, you get zapped. B'shar kol makom, and everywhere else, koivelo paskatari, put a keli on top of it. Now, B'shimon Omer, now this goes back, way back, to several Mishnayos ago. This goes back to the harp Mishnayos. It says, B'shimon Omer, mokom sheitilu chol chachamim, where chachamim were matir to you, a shvus mishachonas lulach, they gave it to you yourself, from your own. So till chachamim shvus, because only matir by a case of shvus. Now, what everybody is referring to is way back when in the Masechta, way back when, Rabbi Shimon said if you leave the tchum 15 amos, you can still go back. Because he said the guys who measured the tchum around the cities, they weren't exactly, they left leeway of up to 15 amos. So he says, that place where I was matir you, that's because I'm giving you your own thing, because they really weren't medactic in the meters to begin with. But over here, if a string in the harp becomes broken, there I'm not matir you. Because there I put in a strict letter of the law. You're not allowed to tie on Shabbos. If Shimon is not allowed to tie on the tie, slip knot yes, but not tying. And he says again, why am I making one place and machmir in another place? Where I make it because they're really giving you what belongs to you. Here at machmir is because here there's nothing which belongs to you. You're trying to tie something by tying. It doesn't say no. It's not no common denominator to saying that they gave you an extra 15 amos. So there's no comparison between the two. Okay. It says more further. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Broko. Rabbi Yochanan ben Broko said that you use the belt. As Rabbi Yehuda says, you use the wooden tongs. Lonim say some masher betuma. You're leaving tumah in the base of mikdash for longer. How can you be matir there? Because until you get the tongs, there's going to be dead sherets lying there. Amar lo. So Rabbi Yehuda countered. Lonim tseisa marbe betuma, but now you're making more things tummy. If you're using the belt, so you're making the belt tummy. So that's worse to make more tuma. Amar lo, mutav lavra mitzvahs lo saseh. That was a very funny language. I don't understand exactly the etymology of it, but basically it's saying shev al taisa adif. Better to sit and do nothing. That's to be metame biyadai. That says mutav lavra lo mitzvahs lo saseh shlo bas liyadi. Better to transgress a negative when it's not in my hand, meaning that I don't do anything. Shev al taisa. Mitzvahs lo say that to transgress a negative, shabas the farav with my own hands. In other words, it's true I'm waiting for the time. In the meantime, I didn't do nothing. I was passive. The sheriff I didn't bring it in. It fell on its own. It died on its own. But as opposed to a case where I actually pick it up with my belt, in that case I'll get it out quicker. But on the other hand, bekum v'aseh, with my own hands I'm being metameid. So that's his bad. He holds that it's more of a problem. Okay. Rabbi Yisrael Eruvin said, "As ya ilaim plugta, kia ilaim plugta." This is the dichotomy between shev al tasa and not shev al tasa. It's traceable in other places as well, in other machlokos. The Tziyataman, for example, one we just recently had in the Bavli in Pesachim. Ketzah mafrishin challah betuma b'yontif. How you separate challah from your matzah dough when the dough is tummy on yontif? Now, what's the problem? Challah tmei is not suitable for anything. Can't give it to a Kohen, right? So now it's bacon on yontif because it's not suitable. Yet if you don't bake it, what's going to happen to it? It's going to become chametz. It's going to ferment. So what do you do with the challah that's tummy? It was challah to I bake it and give it to a Kohen, but it's challah tmei. What do I do with it? It's a big conundrum, right? So it says the Gemara, it's a machlokas, of course. It says where Rabbi Lezer Omer, Tam Ketzah Rabbi Shul Challah Tmei B'Yontif. How you take Rabbi Yontif? Rabbi Lezer Omer Lo Tikra Lo Hashem. Do not give it a name, meaning don't designate it as challah at the shetiofe until you bake it. Now Rabbi Isai, I'm afraid I learned the Bavli wrong. I don't remember what it says in Bavli, but here in the Yerushalmi, the way the Korban Eidah explains it, not the Korban Eidah, everybody explains it. When you bake it, you call it challah, because then it's already matzah, and it's not going to become chametz. But it's not after you take it out of the oven. It's in the oven you call it challah, and you leave it in the oven. Why are you leaving the oven? Because it's tummy. So what's going to happen to it? It'll continue burning. That's fine. Let it burn. What else am I going to do with it? So you call it challah while it's in the oven. And you actually leave that part which you designate as challah in the oven. You don't take it out. Make sense? Because it's going to burn. What else could do with challah tmei? Okay? So, lo tikor lo Hashem ha'shtofet, don't call a name until it's baked. When it's baked, it's no longer become chametz. But then, of course, don't remove it from the oven. Just leave it there to burn. Ben Beseira says, you know what? Take off the challah and put in cold water, and the cold water will keep it from rising until after the yontif is over. Now, here's a whole segment missing. If you look, Korban Eidah brings down the segment which is missing. The Korban Eidah is right one line below where it says Peyam and Aleph, the third citation of Masoras Shas. They have a Hey Gimel after that. You see that? Holy Garcia, Lutzonate, the previous time held that you put into the cold water, that was Ben Beseira. Rabbi Shulmer Lozel Chametz Musayim Alava by Rabbi Motzeh. There's not a type of chametz which is transgressed by Rabbi Motzeh, because who owns the challah? Not you, Kohen, and no specific Kohen owns it either. So therefore, Elam Mafrashisa, you set it aside, Mnichasa de Erev, and you leave it till nightfall. And it becomes chametz because it's not your chametz, you don't transgress. Okay, now going back to the Gemara. Says more, Amar lo Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says you can leave it till can make it designated and leave it because it's not really yours. So he said to Rabbi Lezer, who says you give it a name in the oven. Lonim says a kasarv kachim yontif. Aren't you burning the chal on yontif? It's not really kachim, it's like kachim. You're burning the chal on yontif because you're leaving it in the oven. Leaving the oven is not the burning shlo tzarech. How can be matir such a thing? Amar lo. So he said, Rabbi Lezer milein in nisrafim. I'm not burning it. It burns on its own. I left it there. Did I do a mice? I didn't do a mice. Amru lo, and he said it should be li Rabbi Yoshua. He said to Rabbi Yoshua, lo nimtzeis over lo yeroya lo yemotzei. According to you, Rabbi Yoshua says that you allow it to ferment. Don't you translate this by yeroya by yemotzei? So Amar lo, he said a funny thing. He said, one second. Yeah, don't you translate this by yeroya by yemotzei? So he gives a funny answer. Rabbi Shua should have answered, it's not mine. It belongs to the Kohen, so I am transgressed by yeroya by yemotzei. But he doesn't give that answer. He gives another answer. He says, Amar lo, Rabbi Shua responds, Mutav la'avra mitzvahs lo saseh shelo bas liyodcha, mitzvahs lo saseh shebas lefanecha. It's better to be sheva al taseh than kum vaseh. Meaning that, I just let it sit there and it becomes chametz. Better than you who has it in the oven and there designates it as becoming challah, so you did an act of putting it in the oven in order to burn it. Shelo tzorech. So my eitz is better. Because my eitz is you call it challah, right? But you leave it there, right? So it's everything is sheva al taisa. You're not doing anything. Is that clear?
Just leave it in the oven until it becomes matzah, and then take it out. And wait until nighttime.
Because it's muktzah. If it's not suitable to eat, it's muktzah. Okay, so again he says, the reason why I say let it become, leave it there and let it become chametz, if it becomes chametz, is because sheva al taisa is better. I don't know why he says this. You should say that it's not my by yemotzei. It's the Kohen. It's not my problem. But that's not what he answers. All right, I don't know exactly. Says one further. Tamati, we learned over there. Similar case. You have carbonates which are supposed to have 1 3 sadat. Sheisar which got mixed in. Vinitani matnas. Matanachas, which are mixed with other blood, which are supposed to have 1 sprinkling on the mizbeach. So you know some matanachas, do them both together 1 time. Arba one is supposed to be sprinkled 4 times. It got mixed with 1 supposed to be sprinkled 4 times. Yosmem arba, do 4 and 4. Matan arba b'matan achas. What are those that are supposed to be sprinkled 4 times? Got mixed with those supposed to be mixed and sprinkled once. Rabbi Lezer may nostum and arba, do 4 times taken. Rabbi Shomer nostum matanachas only 1 time. Amar Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shua said to Rabbi Yeshua. Look, it doesn't say the Rabbi Shua. Amar lo Rabbi Lezer. Lo say so very about tigra. You're doing too few. Instead of 4, you're doing 1. It's not enough. It's about tigra. You detract from the mitzvahs of the Torah. Amar Rabbi Shua said, au contraire. Don't you say something about Tosif, don't you transgress about Tosif? Because instead of 1, you're doing 4. So it says Rabbi Yeshua, take out the words Amar lo. It says Rabbi Yeshua, so why do I say only 1? Mutav la'avar mitzvahs lo taseh below bas liyadi. It's better to translate lo today, which didn't cut man. Mitzvahs lo taseh bas liyadi. Mitzvahs lo taseh kate man, meaning sheva al taisa adif. After 1, I sit and refrain. That's better than doing 4 bekum vaseh, which potentially might lead you to problems. Okay, Tamati, we learned over there. Heichlis Rosha over Rubo. This is a fascinating case. I don't remember being brought down the Bible at all. You have a Mitzorah. A Mitzorah has to have blood sprinkled on his toes, earlobes, right? Thumbs, toes in 3 places. Thumbs, toes, and earlobes, I think. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Not earlobes. The what's that called? Cartilage. Tragus. What? Okay, on the. You didn't know what it was called? Neither did I. I used today in my afternoon shiur. I used the word tortfeasor. What? That nobody heard that word there. See, everybody has different words. Did you ever hear of a tortfeasor before? See. Doctors have their words and lawyers have their words. What's the victim of a tort called? Okay. So he's got to put in. He's got to have blood sprinkled on his the cartilage, the tragus, on the thumbs, and on the toes. Problem is now to go in the Beis Hamikdash because he's tummy. Mechusa Kippurim, to be more precise. So how does he get it sprinkled? So he stands by the door of the Azorah, and first he sticks it in his head, the right side. First he sticks it in his head, and then he sticks it in his thumb, and then he sticks in his leg. Rabbanan say he can mix it to put in all three at once. It's probably quite a sight. Okay? Shani Kanor, yeah. Okay? So it says the Gemara, Rosh of Arubo, Rosh of Nosatnuchazno. First you put in your hand and put on the cartilage. Yoda, then your hand, Nosabo Yoda, put on the thumb. Ragla, then you put in your foot. Okay, one at a time. Rabbanan hold you put in all three at once. Okay, that's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbanan hold you put in all three at once. No, the opposite. Rabbanan hold you put in one at a time. Rabbi Yehuda holds you put in all three at once. L'chavash shitasi Rabbi Yehuda. There's a contradiction, Rabbi Yehuda. Now the word harim in this context is very funny. Harim means usually you can't cheat. So here it means you can't use the loophole. What it means is Rabbi Yehuda says you can't put in all three at once. The kamar mutter. But here Rabbi Yehuda says you can use the loophole. What loophole can you use? Shave out taisa. You can wait until you get the tongs and leave the tomb in the Beis Hamikdash. Okay? There, you can't put all three in at once. Right? That means you can't put it, even though, how should I put it? You can't put all three at once. What's that? I understood. Yeah, there you can put through all three at once. All three at once, so that means, what's also Harim? No, so I made a mistake. Also, it means you can't leave the tomb in the Beis Hamikdash. I'm not sure what the derivation is. So there, you put in all three at once in order to you leave the tomb in the Beis Hamikdash as little as possible. But here he says you can wait for the wooden tongs, which might take all day to find. So it's a contradiction. There he wants all three in at once. Head, thumb, and foot. To get everything done ASAP. Here he says you wait till you get the tongs, so it's a contradiction, right? And of course the question Rabbanan too. And the Girsa in the Gemara is messed up. Let's go now to the Korban Eidah to get the right Girsa. 8 lines to the bottom. So it says more Tamon Haki Garcia. See that Haki Garcia? Tamon there says more no there it's in order that it shouldn't be metame the Azorah 3 times by entering 3 separate times. But here the tumah is already on the inside. You're not being metame anything. You're not doing anything. It's already there, so it's not comparable. Now, what about the contradiction, Rabbanan? The Chavashitas the Rabbanan. Tamar and Mimutar, there they say you can do it in 3 separate times. And you can tarry, so to speak. V'akar, he didn't say not to tarry. You have to quickly take it out with your belt. You're not allowed to leave it in and wait for the tongs. So why there we patient in here not? So there's more Tamon, Shema Yachdis Rosh of Rubo. There we don't let him do all 3 at once, because we let him do all 3 at once, he might put in the head and the majority of his torso. and he puts it in the majority of his torso, he's doing a chiyuv kares. Inadvertently, perhaps, he's doing a chiyuv kares, right? Mishum baram hacha, but here, mishum machdis kelim tmeim b'mikdash. Here, the problem is that you might bring kelim tmeim the base on mikdash. That's not a problem. Now, kelim tmeim base, which should be the avnei. It's not a problem. Efshel taste below shows below tuma. Because here, you just quickly take it out as soon as possible, right? You take out the avnei ASAP, holding this, not the tongs are either. The avnei in your hand, so you're not be tearing. There again, we're afraid we don't let you do all three at once because we're afraid you're going to put your rosh of rubo in. Here. We're not afraid. Here, what's the problem? That you're making an avnei tamei and leaving base hamikdash. You just speed out of there as soon as possible. Okay?
The bottom two are going to be tamei. 2 areas of tuma are there while you're doing shiur.
Right.
If you do it one at a time, as soon as you put it.
But that's not what's matar anyway. The putting of the blood is not matar. You still have to bring korbanos afterwards. It's still mechusar before you. It's part of the process in progress. So it's not that each part becomes Torah in turn. It doesn't work that way. Later on, it becomes Torah. It's just part of the process, not the full process.
You're looking for the tongues one day, in case of break glass.
Yeah, okay, but it still takes time to run to get the glass, whereas the avnei takes no time. That's because that's what I'm saying. It's quick, so therefore it's not a problem of leaving two in the base of mikdash. Amar lo, Rabbi Yehuda said ultimately, mutu, going back to the Gemara now, 4 lines to bottom. Amar lo mutav lo lav or mitzvah lo say shelo bas liyodo. It's better to transgress a mitzvah lo say which doesn't come to your mitzvah lo say shebas fanav. In other words, to wait for the tongs to shave out taisa. Meantime, you're not being matami anything else. However, to take something into the avnei, that's a kumvaseh, you're making something tamei, so every Rabbi Yehuda rejects that. Now, the Yerushalmi comes to a lumdish thing. Cute question. Let's say that the parameters are mokum shchayv l'karis, in other words, the azora. So you took the sheretz outside the azora. Once you're allowed to take it outside the azora, you're allowed to take it outside the entire base on mikdash, right? Because it's in your hand, you take it to wherever you can. What if you took it out of the azora, and it fell into the ezus noshim? So it's not chayv karis. Can you pick it up again and continue with it out? Or since it fell somewhere, now where l'chatchila you wouldn't take it out, that's it, you can't pick it up and take it out again. So says Yerushalmi, kvar nirei lo tzeis, right? It's already suitable to take out, so you can continue taking out. What about now? Okay, fine. Says Yerushalmi, fine. Now I can pick it up and take it out, even though it fell inadvertently. What about matzas acher b'tziro? What if there was another dead rat in the ezus noshim? Now, dead rat number 1 you found in the azara, so you can take it out. Dead rat number 2 is in the ezus noshim. All you can do is put on a keli on it. What happens if inadvertently, of course, you drop the first rat next to the second rat? So the first rat you're allowed to pick up and continue taking out. Okay, once you're there, Miko, then you take out the first rat, you take out the second rat. Okay? Oeno motzi, elesh shenir, let's say, so you can only take out the one which was originally suitable. Now, the Yerushalmi digresses, but according to the Farshim, it's digressing with a purpose. Huya oimer, Rabbi Yehuda is to say, tzvas b'tzvas ovad. You can only make a tongs with tongs. We just had this in the Bavli. You can only make a tongs with the tongs. It's after ma'isa ma'havas. So how did the first tongs get made? Biris havas, created during Shesh's made bracious. Okay? Amrei Chanina, Kumi Raimana, Uma at Amarla. Why are you saying this to us? What do we care about how you make tongs? So he says, response, Mitzavta achas lomdu kamatzvasos. From one tongs you make several tongs. We call on here, Mishvisa achas lomdu kama shvisos. From one Tisa d'Rabbanan, meaning the heter for this d'Rabbanan, you can learn several heterim. So it's just like you can make from one tongs many tongs, so too, if you have one heter to take out a rat, you can take out many rats together with that one rat. Okay, that's how he learns it. There are other ways of learning it, but that's the way. That's the nicest way I saw of learning it.
One heter d'Rabbanan came from Shesh's made bracious.
Right. Reb Chaim Kanievsky says it's going on it's not a kula, but it's a chumrah. He says that the tzvas, you will make several tzvasos from it, right? And so too he says that from one Issa D'Rabbanan you make several Isurim D'Rabbanan, and he says it's going on the string in the harp which got severed in the Beis HaMikdash. And he said that he says that I don't remember how he learns. I don't remember. Let's just gloss over it. It's enough. Tomorrow night we start Pesach.